Good evening. I'm calling this meeting to order. The time is 5:32 p.m. in accordance with the Texas Open Meetings Act, Texas Government Code, Chapter 551. This meeting is officially open with a quorum present. We will move straight to public comment. Let me remind you that because of restrictions by the Texas Open Meetings Act, board members may not engage in a verbal exchange about a subject that has not been posted. We will listen and take notes, but this board is prohibited from responding to any inquiries made during a board meeting on any topic not posted on the agenda. However, the board may reply with one, a statement of specific factual information, giving in response to the inquiry, recitation of existing policy in response to the inquiry, or three, direct the person to visit with staff about the issue. While this board listens to concerns of a general nature, speakers should practice normal rules of decorum. Vulgar language and profanity will not be tolerated, as this is a public meeting and our students are watching. Additionally, disruptions of the meeting will not be tolerated. We ask the audience to refrain from interrupting speakers while they present to the board during this portion of the meeting. Any employee, parent, or other member of the public is asked to comply with the appropriate grievance policy to have a complaint heard pursuant to the applicable board policy. No presentation may exceed 3 minutes this evening unless the speaker has prior approval for additional time because of the use of a translator. Speakers who require the assistance of a translator are required double the amount of time of speakers who do not require the assistance of a translator. Furthermore, a speaker may not relinquish his or her time to another speaker. We ask that you please observe these rules for the purpose of effectively accomplishing the business of the children of Fort Worth ISD and completing this meeting in a timely order. For those who are speaking, there are sanitation wipes available at the podium. Our first speaker is Carrie Raymeyer.
Ms. Jackson, I have a meeting. It'll only take a moment. I believe it should be addressed to the board, ma'am.
Can you please speak with officers so we can continue?
Okay, due to last night's incident, any further terroristic threats that are being made towards parents and or taxpayers in this room, a call to Fort Worth PD will and should be made via 911. As it seems, the officer's presence seems to be a personal police force for the board's bidding and not the citizenry as a whole. Thank you.
Ms. Raymeyer.
Good evening. I'm disappointed to see that Quentin and Cinto aren't here. I don't have my glasses, so I'm sorry. I don't trust how this bond money is going to be spent. A few extra votes is not, it shows no confidence. I think you should vote to wait on that. Once I got over the shock of what took place here last night, I got angry. I've only seen Malik Austin here once before since I've started attending board meetings. Todd, Holly, and I were brand new plaintiffs against Fort Worth ISD, and we did not speak at that meeting that he attended. So he didn't know us. But last night, he turned around, he directed his anger and his threats directly at Todd, me, and Holly. How convenient. How dare you come up here and talk, he said. We can't come up here and talk? Cui bono? Who benefits from this? Who benefits if we stop? The board, who we've been consistently calling out for the failures, many failures, and the racial equity cartel that we're exposing. And there's quite a bit of overlap there. Someone called him up here knowing that he was a loose cannon who wouldn't have a problem issuing terroristic threats of gun violence towards us as he's walking out. If one of us had threatened violence, we would have been tackled to the ground and immediately arrested, justifiably so. But you didn't bat an eye as you were there, as we were physically threatened. You didn't summon security. You're complicit in intimidation and thug mafia tactics. To you, the ends justify the means. And you want us shut up for good, don't you? If something happens to one of us, I want to put the police on notice right now. This is where they need to come look.
Yeah, they sure did. Thank you. Mario Rodriguez.
He's running late.
Thank you. Holly Clemens.
Hi, I'm Holly Clemens, mother of 3 children in Fort Worth ISD and Andar and CJ Evans District. I'm back again to talk to you about your lack of leadership, inability to follow the law, and my utter disgust and how you waste our money. The city has shown that they do not trust this superintendent and this board. We do not trust you with our money or our children. 57 votes is not enough of a margin for you to, in good conscience, certify Prop A. And CJ, Dr. Ryan, your constituents all voted no on these bonds. Are you going to stand up for your people that put you in place tonight? They do not want this to pass, and frankly, we can't afford it. You lied when you said it wasn't a tax increase. You misled voters. I urge the board to do what is right and vote to not burden the city with Prop A. Show us that you're ready to do what's right for the children and the voters. That is how you start rebuilding trust. If you accept this Prop A, you're showing this is nothing more than a cash grab for your friends. What is it going to take for y'all to hear our pleas for our children and fire him? Scribner's had 6 years in Fort Worth ISD, and during that time, he has only wasted our money on his political pet projects and destroyed our children's education and test scores. He's driven good teachers from Fort Worth ISD and rewarded CRT teachers with big promotions. He's lined his pockets in the pockets of his friends. He's now trying to drive parents out of their children's education and create a divide amongst our children over race, a divide that was not there before he was pushed on Fort Worth by Obama. Y'all pay attention. That's who put him here. Everyone look at him. That's what a crook looks like. Fire him. We're going to hold you accountable.
Thank you. Mike C.
Last night, after your closed session, implied accusations by a trustee gave great cause for Fort Worth ISD stakeholders to trust that manner in which contracts will be awarded for completing the projects to be paid from bond. Will be awarded according to established protocol. These accusations are serious, and I ask that you vote for alternative number 3 from the agenda, to remand to staff for further study so these accusations can be fully investigated by an entity with no ties to Fort Worth ISD or the board before a single dollar is spent or a contract awarded for the proposed school projects. Thank you.
Thank you. Todd Daniel.
Thank you guys for 3 minutes. Hello, board members. I think free advice to you, take it how you will. Given the performance with the bond and with our kids' academic performance, 3 minutes for parent and community comments at meetings needs to become the minimum standard. You need to start listening to us. I think it's time also for some real courageous conversation. And if you'll pardon me just a moment with this rhetoric, I want you to look at me. What do you see? What do you know about me? Nothing, really, right? So I have some immutable characteristics. I'm tall, skinny, white guy, wear a cap, and I've got glasses. Okay, I know you can't respond directly, so let's try a show of hands. How many of you guys have kids? Just kids? Anybody? Nobody on this board has kids? Do you have kids in the district? Okay. What do you want? What are your dreams for your kids? What do you want for your kids? Do you want their emotional health and happiness, friendships, wisdom, empathy, all the things we talk about a lot, give lip service to? I think the only thing that I have a big problem with, and you should too, is that, and I know some of it is forced on you by TEA, I spoke with Ann just before, and we'll work on that too. But all these racial metrics and equity that you guys gloat over constantly is just stirring toxicity back into the systemic melting pot that our kids use in school. The only thing that these metrics and so forth really have to do with race is that they're a race to the bottom where all of our dreams and our kids will lay smashed if you don't stop it. Let me tell you a little bit more about me before Norma does or my time runs out. It was my privilege to be born in Texas. I was raised here in Fort Worth. I appreciate all the gifts and lessons that shaped my childhood and the Fort Worth ISD. I left. I've lived in many places and abroad and in foreign culture with some differently pigmented people. I've experienced firsthand racism directly and other forms of ignorance and bigotry, soft and hard. I have 4 biracial children, 2 currently in the district. And you see, my kids are just like Barack Obama. Yet, I want more for them. And I expect more from them and you. You need to listen to us. We're not unreasonable. We're not overprivileged. We're not supremacist.
Thank you, Mr. Daniel.
Thank you.
Aaron James.
Hello, good evening, y'all. I just hope that you guys don't go through with Proposition A. And, you know, I believe that the inequality, that I believe in inequality of opportunity for all, you know, and teaching critical race theory and that you should judge a person by the color of their skin doesn't benefit anybody, you know. So I really believe that we need to just do away with critical race theory altogether, because I teach my children to judge people by the content of their character. You know, what happened to I Have a Dream, you know, that we'll judge people by the content of the character and not the pigment of their skin. That's how I teach my children. And I think that these equity programs preach the opposite of what Martin Luther King Jr. had to say when he gave the speech of I Have a Dream. Instead of I have a dream, critical race theory brings about we have a nightmare. And so it teaches division. And so I hope we can get past that and look at people by the content of their character. And thank you.
Thank you. Angie Blake.
Good evening. As you know, 3 out of 4 propositions failed. This should send a very strong message to anyone who cares to listen. The one proposition that passed did so by only a few dozen votes, and this so-called victory was likely due to the fact that much of the public was misled to believe that passage would not lead to a tax increase. Congratulations on winning ugly. This superintendent has gone above and beyond in the effort to dismiss the state-mandated ballot verbiage of "this is a tax increase," going so far as to refer to it as incorrect in one of the bond meetings. Let's not ignore the motivation behind this new law to try to curtail the fraud that has been perpetrated on the voters by local taxing entities for decades. The results of this election demonstrates the power of facts against fraud, of truth against lies. Give people the truth, treat them with respect, and approach them with honesty the next time you want their money. Let's see how that works out. Billion-dollar tax increases should not be allowed to pass if the margin is this small. By no means can you reasonably conclude that the results of this election reflect the community's blessings of this amount of debt. That's all.
Thank you. Mario Rodriguez.
Good evening. I think now it is time for everybody on the school board to think about why you got on the school board. I got upset when our kids didn't go back to school sooner. I got a little bit upset over the mask thing. I got a little bit upset over the CRT thing. But I tell you what really got me the most upset was looking at the performance of the students in the Fort Worth ISD. That's what got me the most upset. And what got me really upset was the fact that y'all wanted $1.5 billion. The fact that 3 of those propositions failed and y'all got your $1.2 billion, I don't see that as a victory. I see that as y'all getting to get what you don't deserve. I understand. I want the kids to have good school, nice facilities just like anybody else. But what bothers me the most is that y'all don't understand. A lot of people are upset at the condition of the students' learning. And that is why I'm telling you right now, if we would have had a B-rated school district or a B-plus rated school district, I would not have said a word about voting against the bond. But with so many kids performing at such a low level, y'all have got to understand that this is doing a disservice to our children. I want y'all to ask yourselves, are you on the school board for your own interests? Are you on the school board to really help the children? And by the way, in case y'all don't know, taking donations from construction companies when y'all are fixing to be handing out big contracts, it's shady. It's just flat out shady, and you should know better. A lot of you in front of me took donations from a gentleman that owns a construction company in here, and I don't think it's right. So y'all really need to think about what you're doing. Some of you are up for re-election in 2023, and I think y'all really need to do it because I'm not the only one that feels this way. There's a lot of us in Fort Worth, and we're gonna go to the polls and we're gonna fix what's wrong with the Fort Worth ISD, one way or another. Thank you.
Thank you, and thanks to each of you for sharing your thoughts and for being here this evening. The time is 5:50 p.m. The date is Wednesday, November 10th, 2021. We will now recess and reconvene for executive session as authorized by Chapter 551 of the Texas Government Code under Sections 551, 071, 2, 4, and 6. In accordance with the open meetings law, the board opened the meeting at 5:32 PM with the quorum present, recessed, and reconvened open session, adjourned regular session, convened executive session, adjourned executive session, and has now reconvened open session at 6 PM with a quorum present. Move to item 6 on the agenda, action items. Let's move to action item A, discussion and action to approve canvassing returns and declaring the results of a bond election. The district called the bond election for November 2nd, 2021, and contracted with the county, acting through the Tarrant County Election Administrator, to conduct the election. The results of the election do not become official until the board adopts an order canvassing the returns. The Tarrant County Election Administrator has completed the canvassing of election returns and determined that the following votes were cast for Proposition A, 12,410 for and 12,353 against. Proposition B, 11,329 for and 13,351 against. Proposition C, 8,298 for and 16,317 against. And Proposition D, 10,329 for and 14,275 against. The order being considered by this board is for the purpose of finding and determining that the election was properly called and held, and that Proposition A passed with a favorable majority. At this time, will you please review the votes? And then I'll ask for a motion. Do I have a motion? Motion by trustee Roxanne Martinez. Do I have a second? I have a second by trustee Ann Dar. Any discussion? Seeing and hearing none, are we ready to vote? And the motion passes unanimously. The time is now 6:04 PM, and this meeting is adjourned.